Welcome, and we hope that this session is going to be of value to you as you think about innovating in the space of work-based learning and internships. My name is Susan Gian Carroll. I'm the Director for Career and Technical Education with Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools. And to help facilitate today is Alyssa English, who leads all of our career development coordinators who are housed at each of our large
Travelers
high schools.
Team 5.
And the three gentlemen you see, you're going to get to know a little bit better as we move through our time together. I just want to say a word of thank you to each of these organizations because their innovation has really helped us break barriers for students and really open the doors where no doors were open before. I know that I've heard from many districts about the 18-year-old barrier that has come hard in the last several years that is kind of a barrier for kids to get internships. And what these three entities have done have revisioned what that looks like. And so we're going to start today with Austin Halbert, who is the CEO and founder of Radius Group. So Austin, welcome.
Thank you.
So I want you to tell me a little bit, so just a little high level information. When the pandemic hit, we had already started conversations with Austin about a virtual platform for internships. And how we're thinking about that for our district is kind of a stepping stone for a person-to-person internship, especially for some of our harder to place. And so when the pandemic hit, our partnership with Mayor's Youth Employment Program through the city was very integral in helping us launch the virtual platform. But Austin, talk a little bit about how you even came into this space to work with Charlotte.
Totally. So Radius really started out of the idea that we need to expand access to work-based learning opportunities as much as we can, and that we can really use technology to create a stronger bridge between education institutions and employers. So we initially actually started in the university space. We created virtual work-based learning opportunities where engineering students could, say, design a space mission with NASA, or agriculture students could work on a project with Unilever. And we really saw a need over the last few years among high school students to really create more of these opportunities for 16 to 18-year-olds, and decided to start that in Charlotte. I'm North Carolina native. Really around the time that we began working more deeply with Charlotte partners, COVID hit, and there was a need to create virtual internship opportunities for students who would have not had those experiences otherwise. So we started working with CMS in the city and 5 major employers to really see how quickly we could develop pathways in advanced manufacturing and business and finance, healthcare, technology, and innovation, and just saw really a massive rallying effort with the partners in Charlotte to create these virtual opportunities, which I think has opened the door for a really strong partnership with CMS. Last year, through that partnership, we're able to create, I think, over 660 virtual work-based learning placements for students across Charlotte's major sectors. And now we're working with Susan and Alyssa and team to really chart a path to help embed that into the school system, hopefully scale it up alongside CTE pathways, and design what that looks like with teachers so that we can really chart a path to have more of these opportunities meet students where they're at in the classroom.
So ultimately, the platform has shifted from the time that we started working together, and it was kind of all hands on deck. And so talk a little bit about the beta testing that we're doing right now and what we hope to achieve for fall 21.
Totally. So what we're focused on now is how to create these opportunities at a higher scale. So we were proud of that 660 number last year, but it was all hands on deck. It was really intensive for facilitators, for the partners, and for us to deliver those programs across the summer and winter. And now we're trying to think of how we can create platforms and technologies to make that easier, where a teacher could say, I want all my students in this class for the final project to do this work-based learning experience virtually with, say, if it's a healthcare class with the hospital system, and they can sign their students up. The students navigate it from start to end with mostly self-driven or peer-based learning, and it works pretty seamlessly, and the students get a certificate of their skills at the end of it. So today, like a lot of other programs, we've started with a very intensive manual approach that's human-centered. So it takes a lot of people work, a lot of emails, a lot of calls. Through this platform, we hope that we can create a solution for CMS and eventually other school districts to more readily deliver work-based learning opportunities alongside their courses and pathways.
So I want to talk a little bit about how this has really taken a village. CMS could not do this on its own. And so NAF really stepped up, because the hope is that this becomes a national platform that all school districts across the country. And so Charlotte is kind of leading the charge, and we are figuring out all the pain points, which there have been a few. For those who are listening, one of the pain points is, well, who facilitates the virtual experience? So it's not really a turnkey where you sign the student up and you're done as a teacher. You still need to be engaged in that process. And so what we're doing is really trying to figure out, well, can teachers be ultimately the person who facilitates that, so that you can have pockets of students who are getting this opportunity, but you're not relying on a single person at a school to actually facilitate for 40 or 50 kids on top of the work that they're already doing. I want to shout out to NAF for the support that they've given us to help build this platform. They gave us, we applied and they received a grant that was fairly sizable to help build this work out. And so I just want to shout out to them, because we would not be able to do this without their support 100%. So Austin, talk a little bit about, kind of, if you can, I know we don't have any visuals to share today, but talk a little bit about what a student would experience, and where is the industry tie-in that helps take what could be a virtual, boring experience into something that's really more engaging and exciting for the student to participate in.
Totally. So each of these pathway experiences really try to simulate what the work experience might look like. Well, obviously in a way that's digestible for a 16-year-old or 17-year-old kid who's using their brain in this way for the first time. I guess to give an example, we've just started a sports marketing pathway with NASCAR, and really have worked with their executive marketing team from beginning to end to understand, what skills are you looking for? What problems are you seeing in the industry? What do you want in the next generation of students that you're seeing come out of CMS doors? What's been exciting about that is we get a lot of learning and development that we can bring into the experience, the most up-to-date information we can about skills that employers need. And then our pathway design team sort of turns that into a 5 to 8 week experience that students can take on to do a real project. So for NASCAR, the goal is, how do we develop a sports marketing strategy to reach a broader and younger audience? And each week students will go through a set of mini projects that help them work towards that final goal, where they'll submit their marketing campaign and pitch that to the NASCAR executive team. So they'll start out, actually next week we have another program starting. So we'll start with identifying a target market, conducting research, but each pathway really tries to tailor it to the industry. So in Siemens, they'll be developing 3D models, and business and finance with Bank of America, they'll be building finance apps. And our goal is really to sort of build on these employer relationships, continue to build these work-based learning experiences across hopefully as many in-demand occupations as we can, and make it easy for school districts to make those accessible to students.
So I can imagine that one thing that's probably, there's two things I think are on people's minds. One is this a paid experience or a non-paid experience? And that it was paid because in the last year, because we had CARES Act funding that we applied for through the city, and that paid for our interns. Moving forward, we are looking for funding sources to pay, but we're also looking at the unpaid and for credit option, which we have here in North Carolina. And I think the other question that might be on folks' mind is, well, okay, so our kids are all in virtual and they have just been computered to death. What was the reaction and what was the feedback from students about being on the platform? Did they like it? Did they not like it? Like, what was their take on it?
I think I'll start with the second piece because we wanted to make sure, especially the first time we did it, when students were just adjusting to their first few months of being on screens all day, that this didn't push them over the edge, basically, and just make them want to shut down their computer for forever. So we really took in their feedback from one week to the next and made it a lot more peer-based, built-in interactive exercises, and made sure that they were doing different types of skills throughout their day and throughout their week, where their brain could light up in different ways. So they're not just reading or doing the same repetitive motions over and over again. The model is really around active learning and sort of mission-driven learning, to where they feel like they're solving real problems that they can get excited about and care about. So it's a bit different than what they might be seeing in their everyday courses. So hopefully that experience, especially now after we've tested it a few times, is exciting for students and high energy. On the sort of structure of this, we're exploring that as well and trying to figure out what's going to expand access to as many kids who need these opportunities. So it started, as you mentioned, Susan, with sort of public-private partnerships where some of that funding came from city dollars. We're now talking to the local executive council about potential for industry to give stipends where those can best fit. And we're also sort of charting out what this looks like as a co-curricular experience, where maybe we've got more intensive pathways that are paid and have stipends, but also have experiences that can be embedded alongside courses, so that we're starting to bring this type of learning more into sort of the fabric of CTE pathways. And so really our goal is how do we make sure that the majority of students coming through high school have the skills and experiences that they need to find decent work. And I'm sure the model will continue to evolve as it has a few times in the past year. But I think we really have a lot of trust in the partners and a lot of, I guess, faith in the support that we've gotten from folks like NAF, that we've got everything it takes to figure it out and take it to the next step.
Well, thank you. I think that from our standpoint, and just to reiterate how excited students were to finish those, when we were doing the fall internship is what we called it, which was a short opportunity to work with students. And we had 365 students that hopped on and opted in and completed that virtual internship. Myself, all of our team at central office all took 10 to 15 kids so that we could actually understand what the process looked like. And it was delightful. It was fun to work with students. It was fun to see them get excited. I had kids in the students in the healthcare pathway, and watching them take on solving problems that were very personal to them. And so it was neat to watch them develop their app and what they thought they would do with it and how they thought it would work. And then their closing video really captured all of our hearts, their experience as they went through it. So Austin, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for your vision and also your persistence and patience as you have worked with us to figure out all of those different foibles and barriers that we have to overcome of working with a bureaucracy, which is always probably a common theme that you might hear. Is always challenging as we make two entities from private and public work together. So we are very grateful for you. And so Alyssa, I'm gonna send it to you so that you can take us down the next journey.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you, Austin, for sharing. It's been a pleasure working with you, Austin, and with all of our partners. And that's another side of the role that I have as career development lead for the district, not only supporting our in-school staff, but also having the privilege of working with external partners like Nick Troll. So Nick and I are gonna join this next conversation and talk about Road to Hire. So welcome to the platform, Nick. And can you please just start by explaining what is Road to Hire?
Thanks, Alyssa, and thanks for having us. Road to Hire is a platform for young adults and rising seniors to help get college access or really just access to sustainable careers through college access or paid apprenticeships. So just providing whether that's training, support, or mentorship in those tricky situations to help navigate the next step towards education as well as job placement is really what Road to Hire is. Just a support system to a lot of the great platforms like CMS and other programs in the city.
So can you tell us, some of those areas that students are able to go into after completing your program, and then we'll go further along, the path that CMS has taken?
Yeah, great question. And specifically here, we hope to help provide access to students depending on, what do they want to do? So help navigating, what are you passionate about, and really finding and exposing. And we believe that the best way to find out what you want to do is to find out what you don't want to do. And so for us, we're working with students throughout an entire year in CMS as an in-school class to provide those opportunities where we're teaching professional development and email etiquette and public speaking and giving and receiving feedback along with some basic tech skills. So students that pass our class can earn a full tuition college scholarship to a North Carolina public university or access to a paid apprenticeship. And so whether it's 2-year, 4-year, or going into a program with Atrium Health, or going into a program like Road to Hire coding apprenticeship is what we're built to do. And we partner with CMS to do that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nick. And it is an exciting program that you have at Road to Hire. I've been on your campus a number of times, and they treat you like royalty from the time you step onto the campus, even parking, in the parking lot. You walk across, you enter in. It's just a beautiful facility that they have, a beautiful campus. You started with one school. Is that correct? Can you tell us about that one school that you started with and the growth from there?
Yeah, so we actually started at one school, Garinger High School in East Charlotte, with the hope to just learn as much as we can and get to know students and understand how we could be a part of helping provide additional opportunities for pathways along with what CTE was doing. I remember starting outside in a trailer and having 20 plus students coming in the after school program, and we're teaching them tech skills, professional skills. But really for us, we were just trying to learn as much as we can to see how could we scale a platform that would be meaningful for high school students as they're navigating that challenging next step towards college or career. With the help of Susan and Alyssa and a bunch of really strong CMS team members, we were able to take that platform from Garinger to actually 5 schools this past year, where we offered paid summer internships for 275 students, ultimately enrolling 200 of those in an in-school class and graduating 142 that are headed to either 4-year, 2-year, or a paid apprenticeship. And really excited about this coming year where we expanded to another school and have 6 CMS schools, and we'll have 370 interns this summer that are working to help navigate their next step towards a sustainable career.
Nick and the Road to Hire team is great with providing weekly updates to our staff, to our schools, to our principals, and jumping in on calls in the morning, really any time of day. The Road to Hire team is always there, always present, and willing to help us with our recruitment, with supporting our teachers who served as teachers of record to support Nick and his team as they came in to provide the learning space for our students during the school day. So we really took that program from one school, and as Nick shared, developed it to 5 schools. And now we have another school coming on next year. And so we did kind of have a running competition between the schools. It was like, break the internet, break the site, type of thing to get as many students as we could to sign up and to register for the program. And they are so excited even now, as we're sitting here in June, preparing for that second rotation of internships, and then even gearing up for the fall with students registering for class. And students are, just beyond excited with the opportunity, particularly because there is a tuition-free scholarship at the end. So can you, Nick, share with everyone who's watching today, can you share about the team aspect and your team, how they came in and what they were able to provide specifically in each school and how that process came to be?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you kind of nailed it there. I think this platform, as well as the others that I'm fortunate enough to be sitting here with, it's by community, right? I mean, I think CMS is doing fantastic work, but how do we all come together to provide additional aspects and just ride the rails of what's already there? And so that's part of our purpose. So we don't come in assuming that we have it figured out. Our team is just hopeful that we can help add another layer to student support and commitment, knowing that there's a lot more students than support staff. And so we're honored to be a part of it. But our team, what our hope is to come in and provide just some unique knowledge to, what's happening in current technology-based industries. Because of our partnerships with Red Ventures, Bank of America, and Ally, we're taking some of what we're learning or what they're after for hires and trying to bring that into the classroom. And so providing just a different feel for students, as well as providing a team of our staff to help support them through all those tricky situations, college applications, FAFSA, college essays, and then actually providing a layer of mentorship. And so as much as we love teachers, sometimes, we lose the luster of the voice. And so when you add another voice from an outside mentor that can be innovative and new, I think it's back to that community of people. So our team is really just, again, trying to add an additional layer to the great work that already is happening within CMS classrooms, hopefully for the hope to add to student success.
Awesome. I think it's really important here to call out that the program Road to Hire is embedded in our Title I schools. And that's where we started with Garinger, like you mentioned, Garinger High School being a Title I schools, and really lending that support to other Title I schools within our district who sometimes, may not, have that touch point or may not have those abilities within their own, close circle, but Road to Hire came in and was able to fill that need. So, I think this is a great place to talk about some of those pain points, as Susan called them earlier, that we had with the program. And so, I don't want anyone to, think that, CMS has got it going on. I mean, we do in our own way, CMS, CTE, I mean, we are great in our own right. But, that comes from the trials and tribulations that we have experienced and have learned from along the way. So Nick, can you take us on your pain journey with us and how we were able to remedy that?
If you make me, I will, but it was an honor to go through. I think it's we love to fail and fail fast. And so, we think just like from everyone is, how quick can we get to new learnings? And I think we quickly integrated to become an in-school class. And so how do we adapt to grading? How do we adapt to the shifts? And I think, probably that was a little bit of gasoline was poured on that because of the pandemic and how we had to navigate just in general in terms of public education. So, for us, having a point person and Susan, as well as support from Melissa, it made it easier. But for us, we just really tried to go day by day to make sure that, one, we were a part of the CMS team, but able to provide that additional layer. But I think some of those were probably just, how do we integrate to make sure that we're grading the same way? That even though we are a partner with CMS, that we can communicate effectively with students, but respect the privacy of students and what they do with CMS, which is what we really held true to. So, from an outsider, maybe I'm biased. I think we got it figured out. We got to a place of where we learned that it's better as a titled internship relative to, accredited class, so that we can have some autonomy in how we're teaching as grading, and ultimately provide more options for students to get unique experiences and better communication from our team. But yeah, I think that's the fun part for us, is how do we figure something out and get innovative? And this will always be student focused, but how do we add some data and metrics behind it to really measure success, whether that's even week over week or month over month and ultimately year over year, to define what we're trying to do so that we can make the best decisions for students in the future.
Absolutely. And we got there again through that, blood, sweat, and tears and the learning that we had to go through. But, it took a village, like we've said, earlier, it took that village to help embed this program in each school throughout the school day, and not as an after school program or a before school program. So it really took, getting the principals on board. And like I mentioned, Nick and his team were, very adamant and very passionate about getting in front of principals, to share the vision and getting that buy-in. Principals needed to hear that first, to be that, lead from the top down. We also had to work with our master schedulers at the school. We had to identify a teacher of record who would be there to support. And then it came back to, once we had all those people in place, really looking at the students, looking at where they were. We didn't want to put any student in jeopardy of not meeting their graduation requirements first and foremost. So we had to pay attention to student schedules and where they had the opportunity or the space to fit in, being a part of the Road to Hire class. So, it was all, a great work from start to finish. It was a lengthy process. By no means was it something that we were able to stand up overnight or quickly, but we all, stood the test, and we were all, committed to the process. And as I mentioned, Nick and team, were very communicative throughout the process by providing, weekly updates and support to all stakeholders who were involved in the process for our students. So I thank you so much. I think we are getting ready to hear from our last partner. Thank you, Nick, to you and your team. We hope to continue our great partnership that we've already started and continue to set those goals in front of us. You have a goal of the number of graduates from each cohort, and we hope to continue to be able to meet that metric so we can continue providing that economic mobility for our students in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. Thanks, Nick.
No, thank you, Alyssa and Susan and all the CMS team. We are honored to be a part of it from Road to Hire, and just excited for different thinkers that are passionate about students and willing to get innovative to help success. So thanks for having us.
Thank you. Susan, I'll turn it back to you.
You've heard a lot of information. Before we really engage with Darren, Darren and I have a long history together, so this is going to be very conversational. I want to point out that one of the reasons that all of this work is so important, and one of the reasons that it has become such an important part of our community's work, is because Charlotte was named in the Chetty report. There were 50 metropolitan areas studied, and Charlotte ranked 50th out of 50 cities for economic mobility, basically meaning that if you were born poor, you were going to stay poor. And that became the North Star of our community, and is still the North Star. And so we have really had opportunities. These are just 3 of the opportunities that have come because of the highlighting of that challenge for our community. And one of the things that we feel in our office is that a way to build equity into our programs is to build it during the school day. So in North Carolina, an internship can be either a training program or it can be a work experience. And so we have leveraged that training experience to bring our partners in, because we know that although we have phenomenal teachers who just do amazing things in their classroom, there's nothing like hearing it from an industry partner. You all know this, those of you that have been in the classroom. You can say something 20 times exactly the same way, and an industry partner comes in and says it, and it's like gold. And so that's what we're trying to build in and bake into our system, is that kids are not having to choose between an opportunity or going to work, but they're getting that opportunity within the school day. And that is true also for the Rock. So I want to introduce Darren Ash. Darren, talk a little bit about your passion for this project and kind of how it came into being, because this was quite a feat to pull off.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate it. You were right there with me. We started whiteboarding this program out about 3.5 years ago, and I had you by my side. We had key people from Central Piedmont Community College. It started around a facility that was located either walking distance or short shuttle from 3 high schools, that were very underserved. So we really said, let's take advantage of this facility. And we whiteboarded a program. And we also raised about $3 million to create a state-of-the-art facility that really, when a student comes into, they go, oh, wow, construction may be something I need to pay attention to. Fast forward, we are now in 2 locations, but we provide construction skills and job readiness training, emphasizing the job readiness training, plus summer apprenticeships and permanent job placement for 3 West Side high schools, and now with our 2nd location, a high school on the Northeast side. We're 5 and some weeks, 6 days a week program. We focus on advanced carpentry, construction management, electrical, and heating and air technology. Those are the ones we think provide the best career path for our students. And we can talk about this later, but we went fully and safely in person with our training and apprenticeships all through COVID, except the month of April of 2020.
So actually, that's exactly where I wanted to take this conversation, Darren, because construction has been a huge barrier that we have struggled from central office to break. And Darren, you did it. You have all the credit because your passion, your vision, and the structure that we created between Goodwill, CPCC, and CMS allowed industry partnerships. So just talk a little bit about how you were able to connect with the industry and get them to buy in that they were not going to be at risk if they brought students onto their work sites to participate in an internship.
Well, first of all, I credit you and Steve Currier from Central Piedmont, who's now retired, that really emphasized in the early days of whiteboarding that the way programs like this had failed in the past was that industry was not at the table. So the ROC is the industry rep. CMS, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, you do what you do best. We let Central Piedmont Community College do what they do best. And then the ROC provides the secret sauce with the job readiness training, the apprenticeships, supervision, transportation. So literally myself and my staff, we don't teach any courses. We start preparing under industry guidelines for their jobs about 3 months before they start. But it was developing a relationship. We use the term each one take one for even the big companies, because they would go, oh, I'd like 3 apprentices. We go, no, you get 1, because we wanted everyone to participate. A lot of supervision to put a 16, 17, and 18-year-old on a dangerous job site that has a combination of unskilled and skilled laborers all thrown into the mix. It was a social experiment 3 years ago, but as Nick from Road to Hire said, we relish in that kind of putting it out there and adapting to what we need to do to make it work. And that's where we are today.
So talk a little bit about non-traditional. So you have some dynamite young women who are a part of the program. So talk about how you recruit and how do you get kids to say, yeah, that's something I want to do. Let me also preface this by the fact that we have 4 carpentry programs in CMS, and 3 of those, one of them is completely not distanced properly, and they already have something going on with their program. And so the 3 schools that are left, 2 of them have carpentry programs embedded, one of them does not. And so recruitment, talking about pain points, recruitment continues to be something that is easy for some students to see, but kind of tough for most because of the reputation that trades has. So talk a little bit about how you overcome that.
Great question. And it's not just recruitment, it's retention. So you can have someone really hearing the story and then they may not show up for the first day of class. So what we did is we rebuilt our website and social media marketing and our in-person recruiting. Everything was geared to speak to the student and to the parent. And we really focused on 3 things. First was academics. It used to be a world where passive learners who could memorize better than the others were rewarded, and you go on to a 4-year school. Academics, in our opinion, is only one of 3 things. You've got to get through high school. We hope you get through community college. So you got to keep your grades up. If you don't keep your grades up, you don't get the rest of our program. The second is a specific construction skill, something someone's scared to do, can't figure out. And this is for all the active learners. A lot of people are terrified of electrical. And it is so not scary once you get into it. And people pay such big money for that. So get a detailed skill. So academics, skills, training. But the third is work-based learning. You have to apply the skills you've been taught and be thrown into a situation where you start learning to compartmentalize your behavior and act like an adult get off the phone, prove yourself. And that's what we're really selling to the parents. And I think they're starting to hear that there is a new paradigm shift.
Thank you for sharing that. So talk a little bit about, someone might think, and I think I started to ask this earlier and then kind of diverted into another question, but females on a construction site, talk about what their experience has been.
We have probably a third of young women in our program. So that's a lot. First of all, we show them all the different parts of industry. A lot of our young ladies opt for kind of that construction management pathway where they're kind of learning all aspects of, electrical, heating and air, carpentry, and they will basically be an assistant project manager, kind of helping ensure the project's on time, on budget. You have jobs for estimating projects. You also, in the electrical side, that really is game on for a lot of females because it is just technical skills, as is HVAC.
So one last question, which is, how have your industry partners reacted with our students coming on job site? What's been their feedback?
So, just being bluntly honest, this week we're starting to get all the feedback, and we were literally 9 for 9 until we got the 10th call right before we were really ready to celebrate, because we have 35 apprentices out there. And that 10th call was painful because we tend to focus on the painful call. And it was a young lady. We think she went during lunch and smoked pot. Man, we were all over it, and drug testing the next day and everything. And she's fine, but it is like having 35 kids being sent off for college, and you're just on pins and needles every day. Plus, last thing is we do provide Uber and Lyft transportation every day. That I will spend $40,000 this year on 35 kids for transportation.
But overall, what you're hearing is outside of the one, there's always the one, that the industry feedback has been, they come back summer after summer for more interns, correct?
Yeah, so I think what they're seeing now is that these kids are very loyal. You give them the shot between their junior and senior year and take the time to include them in the work site, not just as a charity case, but learning something new. Sometimes you may be cleaning up the site. Sometimes you're applying your skills, but they're very loyal and they want to go back after their senior year. We call the first one a pre-apprenticeship. After senior year, it's an apprenticeship, and then you're either going to finish at a community college or you're going into permanent job placement. So industry is tickled. Again, 9 out of 10 times that 10th hurts because it's you're dealing with a very rough work environment, and some of these kids are in shock sometimes.
Well, it's better for them to learn with you, sheltering them and helping them walk through it, than experiencing on their own and failing and then not having an opportunity to come back and be successful. So we are so appreciative of our relationship with the Rock, which is rebuilding opportunities in construction. So thank you so much, Darren. And before I throw it to Alyssa to close, I just want to emphasize that with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, we have over 53,000 students across grades 8 through 12. To build some context, we have 21 different high school pathways, and we want students to complete a pathway, but each of these programs are really pathway agnostic. So although we have construction programs, you don't have to be in the construction program in order to apply to the Rock. For Austin and for Nick, that doesn't apply either. Our goal is, yes, we want you to be a part of a pathway and study something deeply, but at the same time, we want you to just take advantage of an opportunity that helps you link and begin to build that network into the community, because we know how critical that is. And we also offer a lot of industry credentials. And this year, we're very proud that our graduating class, 69% of our graduating class in 2020, 2021, that's such a mouthful, 69% graduated with a CTE industry credential this year. And that, we believe, helps create the groundwork and the stepping stone for programs like this to then take them to the next level. So Alyssa, I'm going to pass to you so that you can close us out. And I just want to say thank you to our partners again.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you to Darren, to Nick, and to Austin. We could not have done any of this without your bold, innovative leadership. We thank you for having that vision to meet us where we were and even push us and stretch us a little bit in our thinking. And I will be honest here, as I need to be and like to be, Austin, when he first came to us, we were like, okay, that sounds nice. Come back when it's built. And Austin, again, with that bold leadership, that bold vision that he did come back. And he came back in full force. And so we worked over the summer in collaboration with Radius Learning and with the Mayor's Youth Employment Program to build an innovative summer virtual program for students. The same can be said of Road to Hire. Again, we were not embedding programs within the school day. Teachers were teaching 4 classes throughout the day, or else students were leaving and going home to work or going to Career and College Promise through Central Piedmont Community College. Even with the Rock, students going off campus to, play around with hammers and nails. There's so much more, that's happening on that site and at that site. Again, magnificent facility over at the Rock. Great work that Darren and his team are doing over there. So we are just so thankful. But with that, we had to learn, again, those pain points. And we discovered that it's always important, though, my title is Career Development Lead. That's nice. And that sounds good. And I enjoy saying it. Susan is our Director of CTE. And that's beautiful. And that's a great title. And she, is powerful in her own right, and she gets things done. However, we discovered with these programs and during this pandemic and even beyond, we needed a power advocate. We needed that partner to stand behind us from our district. And so we had that in our superintendents that we had to call on, to maybe give, certain folks a little nudge that they needed. We had great partnership through NAF. Again, NAF was very supportive in all the work that we are doing. Anything, that deals with the betterment of our students, of our populations, of our schools, they were on board and they were ready to assist and ready to help. So we did not do this work alone. And we are very happy to, provide any of you who are out here listening, if you'd like to reach out to us to get some feedback and maybe talk a little bit deeper about how we made this happen. And if you really want us to tell you, the real nitty that we don't have time for right now, we're happy to do that as well. But again, we just want to thank you, Austin, again, Nick and Darren, for being 3 of our major partners. There were others. And that was, again, something that, was endearing to me, that even during this pandemic, I had no downtime. We had no downtime. Susan and I, we have our regularly scheduled check-ins, but it seemed like at one point we were meeting every day because the opportunities were so abundant and people did not, shut down during the pandemic with opportunities for students. And so we were happy every day to get up and, sometimes back-to-back meetings, but it was for our kids. And so we are very appreciative with the opportunities, with the innovative opportunities that we were able to provide students. Not to say, again, we still have some hurdles to go over, that adaptability piece with our families, with our schools, teachers, everybody, we're still working to frame that, but in large part, we were able to make it happen. And it's all because of 3 of you. And so we are very happy to have this partnership and pray that it continues to lead us in another path, again, for that economic mobility for our students.